Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about taking graphs of lines and writing equations with them. So in the past we've done the opposite of that. We've taken an equation and we've put it on the graph. But today we're going to look at this line and try to figure out what would it be as an equation written mathematically. So if you recall, whenever we had the equation, the two bits of information we used to be able to graph the line was the slope and the y-intercept. So that's what we want to identify from this line right here. One of these is really easy to find and isn't going to take any time at all. That's the y-intercept. If you recall, whenever we graphed a y-intercept, what we would do is we would go to the y-axis and put our point at whatever number it was, right? So that's how we're going to find the y-intercept. I'm going to go to this y-axis right here in the center of the graph, and I'm going to look and see, well, where does my line cross it? And it crosses it right here at the point -5. So that's going to be my y-intercept. That's what you're going to do every time. You're going to go to this y-axis and you just ask yourself, where does the line cross that y-axis? Now I need to find my slope. While not a challenging task, this one does require a little bit more than just the y-intercept. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, you know what, I have this point on my y-intercept here. And then I'm going to try to find another point on this line. Now I don't just mean plot a point anywhere. I mean, let's try to find a specific coordinate that this line passes through. So you see how this point is on an intersection of the lines on this graph, making it at a coordinate at 0, -5 here, right? That's what we're wanting to look for. Another place where the line passes through that perfect intersection of lines on our graph. And the first one I notice is right here. See how this line crosses right through that intersection of 3 and -1? That's what we're looking for. So what we want to do is we want to identify how do we get from this y-intercept to that next point. Remember, slope is often thought of as rise over run. So all we have to do is answer the question, how much do you have to rise to get to this point, and how far do you have to run? Well, if I want to get to this point, I would have to go up to this line right here. So I would have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So that's my rise, 4. And I would have to run 1, 2, 3 units. So that's my run. And there's my slope, 4/3. I found it. That's all there is to it. If you can simplify that or reduce that fraction, you do want to do that. You know, if I didn't choose this point, but I chose one up here somewhere, then maybe I would get a fraction that needs to be reduced or divided to be a simpler number. Again, if possible, go ahead and do that, but that won't always be the case. Now that I know my slope and y-intercept, I can write this in y equals mx plus b form. As we recall, slope is m and the y-intercept is b. So I just rewrite this with those two coordinates filled in, or not coordinates, those two variables filled in. Y equals 4/3 x plus b, but since b is negative, we're going to write minus, so -5. That's my equation. I did it. Well, let's try out one more example real quick before the end of the video here. Let me take all this stuff away, and I'm going to plot a different line. Now, spoiler alert, I'm going to have to plot the line, so you're going to see the equation. So if you don't want to see it, close your eyes here, or it's okay if we get it spoiled. We're here to learn, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this one as well. We know we're looking for two things. What are those two things? The y-intercept and the slope. So I always like to take a look for that y-intercept first. Where does it cross this y-axis? Well, it crosses it right there And what is that point on the y-axis? Well, that is 4. It's in the positives, so positive 4. Now what I want to do is I want to find another point where this passes through perfectly. Well, the first one that comes to my eye is this one right here. Passes through that intersection of lines just perfect, right through the center. So I want to count using my rise over run kind of format. How do I get from one point to the next? Well, it's important to realize one thing. I always like to start doing the rise part, and I start at this y-intercept. But am I really rising to get to that point? No, I'm falling, right? I'm going down. So how do you think that would reflect upon our number? Yeah, it would be negative. So whenever I start going down here and start counting this, I need to make sure that I consider and write down that it's a negative number that takes the place of my rise, quote unquote. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is going to be -4. Now let's see about the run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so to get all the way over there, I had to run 6. Now the 6 is positive because I was still running to the right. I was running towards the larger numbers, the positive numbers. So here's my slope, -4 over 6. Remember what I said, though, about simplifying or reducing if we can? I bet we can do that on this fraction. 4 and 6 are both divisible by 2. So if I take 2 out of each of these, then I get -2 over 3. There's my slope. So this would say, to fit my y equals mx plus b format, then I can replace m, the slope, with -2 over 3, and replace b with 4. So hopefully that matches the equation I typed in here, y equals -2 over 3x plus 4. Let's find out. Look at that, y equals -2 over 3x plus 4. We did it. All right, guys. If you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know. But otherwise, thanks for watching.